My name is Enrico Dini. I'm the founder of Monolith UK based in London, promoting D-Shape, that is a promising technology focused on large-scale 3D printing applied to construction industry. And I've been working on this project since 2004 so far, basing on a spike that tries looking to a 3D printer working manufacturing a small item, and I thought that scaling up the process we might not making a machine, we might make a new architecture concept. So because I'm a creative person and I have a soul of a creative and of an artist, and particularly of an architect, I had the vision of a new tool to make a new architecture. And now, after 7 years of development, in which I suppose that the invention was a machine, but it's not a machine, because it's a tool to make something else. The invention is how to reinvent and to reshape the world, because we have a few thousand years to move on, and we have to reinvent our world for the new generation. So we are already a world that has been already shaped, and so we have a new tool to reinvent the world. This is the invention, and this is the vision. And nowadays I'm entering in touch with the drivers of the changes that are the investors, the big investors, the governments, that are intrigued and fascinated by this tremendous potential of the shape. So we have now reached a new level of discussion, from the vision that was shared between me and a few pioneers. Now is shared with very big environment of investing companies and architects. So next step will be approaching the contractors, because we have to materialize the dreams through a process of improvement of materials, because we are talking about in situ resource utilization, because we are going to shape sand or granular material more in general. Yes. So we are going to have a paradigm in which we build houses or development using the local material, because this is implicitly related to something that is sustainable for the environment, because whatever will be the destiny of the building we are going to make will be coming from the land that generated it. So whatever this building will be aging will be won't be a demolition process, but a devolution process, so a shaping process. So this is something that is implicitly beautiful, because aging is a beautiful process.
And form back in
and then it starts to dissolve it, and it won't be a rubbish or a waste, because it will be mostly made of the land, so you dissolve. This is very ethical in my perception. And I might talk for hours and hours about the several matters we might debate about. The embodiment of the printer is used to make a small sculpture, or maybe a landscape installation, or maybe a compact living house, or maybe printing a bigger building, or also, and this is not a joke, or also printing wall section of urban developments, that is paradoxically easier rather than printing one building, but printing possibly, in my dream, biomimicry inspired 3D file generated scripts of development for social
software that's already doing that.
We have a strong team of computational designers connected with me through different relationships, but basically the shape is a sort of catalyzer of all the computational design worldwide spread. There is Batashiba Grossman in California, there is Rinus Rolus in the Netherlands, we have computational design in Italy, and it's an incredible potential because when you make a script, you can embed all the constraints that come from, let's say, from engineering constraints that are related to gravity and to strength, and related also to the capability to generate files that are self-generated, and in the middle there is the technology that must be well known by the developer, because otherwise you make a fake that is not sustainable. So I'm trying in this part of this of the project to move forward contemporary, and this is very life consuming and very labor intensive by my side, trying to move forward. The vision. Okay, we have this paradigm of architecture, because actually where I want to go is to make an architecture that is conceived to enhance living outside rather than inside. I have some project in the desert, in Kuwait or elsewhere, to say, hey, enjoy your land, that is a harsh land, let's do something about that, shapes and building infrastructure. This is my aim, and in which the aim is enhancing the self-restoration process of nature to facilitate both the restoring of the nature and inviting people to enjoy the nature going out of the building. I call it archi-nature because it's fun. To mean that I'm keen to build for the outside rather than the inside. And this is a potential also revenue stream of this shape. And then back we can focus and the larger picture on machine manufacturing and different embodiments, because when we talk about large scale 3D printing, we can talk about a 1 by 1 meter printer up to 25 meter printer, and despite the concept is the same, the implementation mechanical and also by a process perspective is rather different. So there is a market that is moving toward machine manufacturing, process control, and then in the meanwhile material improvement. When I started, I supposed to use epoxy resin. This used to be my binder. Then I discovered that we might use inorganic binders. Then after the new of this shape spread around the world, I catalyzed all the people that is proposing to the shape different binders, different additives. The D-shape machine basically is a sand granular material spanning device that span huge layer of granular material, particularly sand, but might be plastic, gravel, or whatever.
20 meters cube.
The size is above 1 meter, below 100 meters, might be 6. The printer I developed is 6 by 6, but just as a sample to mean that we are here to make full-scale buildings. And so when I was debating with my father, that used to be an engineer at Piaggio factory in the 60s and managed the Vespa scooter, so he's an inventor and invented the tilting two-wheels car. He's an inventor. We started debating about the size of the machine. And the machine said, why don't you make a scale machine? No, this is a misleading message, because we want to make the smallest full-scale building. Give me help in choosing the right size. And it's a brilliant man. Said, okay, let me think about it. And after 1 week, he came downstairs and he said, very excited, Enrico, you have to print the tempietto of San Pietro in Montorio by Donato Bramante.
I like it.
Who's this guy? Okay. You are an ignorant. You didn't study history of art. The tempietto by Donato Bramante is an icon of the Renaissance, because this gentleman developed a concept. And the concept was, okay, let's make a couple of spheres on top of each other. Let's make a dome, and this is the concept. And let's make a small dome in this on the Gianicolo Hill. This concept became the concept on which Capitol Hill in Washington D.C., St. Peter's Cathedral, and St. Paul Cathedral has been an icon of the Renaissance. So the matter was to make not a replica of the Tempietto, but a concept of that might celebrate the potential of 3D printing. So what is genius is not inventing a 3D printer, but what to do out of that. So what we are going to print might be extremely misleading about the potential. That's why I went to Future Systems, that is the firm that was founded by the guru, the sort of Andy Warhol of architecture, Ian Kapliski, say, dear Future Systems, what would you do out of that? I have in mind something that is related to trabecular bone structure. How would you interpret the Tempietto? And Andrea Morgante, that is an architect by Shiro Studio based in Notting Hill in London, said, okay, let me think about, and say, okay, this is the concept, and this is the radiolaria building structure. This is the concept. That is the reproposition of this Renaissance icon. So there is a direct link between the past and the future that is being materialized in this small concept building structure. So this is the story about how it began. And now, where we are in the phase in which we have some constraints, huge constraints of this running prototype, that is my printer, that is a device that spans sand, rise a few millimeters, and with a rasterized approach in analog inkjet printer, print on this huge sheet of sand, layers of sand, and this way we can let's say shape any feature in freedom of creation, but paying toll, because at the end of the process, by this layering process, we have to take out all the sand that is not bonded, and so we have some process issues, and the material must be cost effective, have some strength properties, have some isotropic properties, because 3D layering introduce a lack problem, that is delamination. So there are a lot of issues in terms, not of issues, of some elements to undertake seriously using additives. And now we are full of additives that we can test. Geopolymers, microbial binders, silanic-based binders, urethanic-based binders, and we have to check with our team. And here in the US now there is we are assembling a strong committed team to make applied research, to focus on all this potential binder, check the carbon footprint of each of those, check the cost, understand if the production of those binder is ethically well done, because otherwise, if you lose it from your DNA, if you lose your DNA paradigm of ethical and social and environmental standard, you lose the soul of the shape. And this is what a nice toy to play for the next decade. We printed a lot of artistic items. We print rock. So we printed mock-ups, a portion of buildings, tables, coffee tables, chairs, and what is more intriguing, modules of reefs and elements for coastal restoration to enhance fishery population, because the technology of the ship so far is perfect to put into underwater, to make underwater moments, to enjoy habitats, to attract fishes, because you generate this scaffolding on which corals and biomasses can go, but in the same way you can attract divers that pay a ticket to go through and enjoy this sort of museum underwater. So there is a business model that can be achieved by a merging message of ethical happenings. We are going to print something over there. Please go and see what is going there. So people pay to go there and see these amazing features. So it's a matter of also of business models that stay behind or beside this technology. So my commitment, that is almost 18 hours per day commitment, because
At least.
you have to stay in control of all the process, and it's quite time consuming, but it's fun. Because
you have a passion for it, for sure. There's no doubt.
And you feed yourself by the people you know every day, because the excuse of this shape is meeting smart people, so smart, in all the world. So the shape is a catalyst of passion that is shared all over the world by people that is inspired and say, oh, we have something to think about and to work on and to spend time on. And now the model will be to make business in a more ethical way, and this is something that is very intriguing for financial, to make the numbers that are sustainable. So it's a huge challenge on all items, starting from mechatronics, different embodiments of the machines, different engineers. We can make several machines that are not only based on my process, but hybridizing my process with other possibilities. So new IP, lot of IP. So a competition on this side, materials, machines, processes, and design is a revolution. It's a revolution because all the expertise are involved. No one is out of this process, and so we have to deal about how to give a portion of satisfaction to all the parties involved. And what is more committing so far, that a need is created, because at the beginning I had my vision. Now the vision is shared. That vision is shared, so there is a mission in the middle. In the middle, this means certain steps with some parties involved. Now the big players are coming in, and they have to serve on these opportunities, trying to manage to stay in the right direction with and coordinating and supervising this invention toward an ethical paradigm. All the opportunities are valid. We have to choose. We started from the purpose. If the purpose is for maritime application, we can say, okay, let's make a facility close to the building site that is ashore. Let's grab the sand, so let's involve quarries. How will be the deal with the quarries? I don't know. Then the contractor, how the deal with the contractor will be? I don't know. And what about the relationship between the government that stay over there? Because the topic is that building is a matter related to the land. It's not an iPhone you can sell it. It's a matter of dealing with the people that own the land, because this is their land. So what you are going to build there is something which you have to tailor a certain architecture, some standards also by aesthetical sense that might make sense for them. So you in the Middle East, they used to mimic or try to struggling to mimic the Western style skyscraper with steel and glasses. Let's try. Come with me. You have sand, a lot of. Why not thinking about to do something cool with your resources there, with your sense of aesthetic? Try to to think about to develop your own architecture basing on your own aesthetic and sense. And this is very difficult, and but again, whatever the business model will be, franchising or whatever, the matter is that the people to be involved is the local landlords, and might be governments, sovereign funds, and local contractor, and coordinating this. And the US are very smart. America is very smart to do this. I used to be involved as inventor again in developing devices for the shoe industry. And this is strange because the shoe industry, I used to make robotics applied to the shoe industry. And this is has been my huge training job, because when you approach robotics to the shoe itself is a free-form object, because our foot is a free-form object with not certain shapes. So since the '92, I had the last is the item on which you built a shoe, that Mr. Engineer Riccardo Sestini, I was 29, 28, said, okay, this is the last. Enrico, how can apply robotics on that? Where are the reference points? Okay, let's put a plate on it. Let's give a 3-axis reference. And then we are going to build a shoe on it. How can we make a compliance system of end effectors by robots that is going to put hands on this, not on this lad, but there is an upper in it that is made of leather. And you have to put hands on leather because we have to apply cement and to rough the surface. Just scraping out a few hundred tenths of millimeter without digging in it, otherwise you destroy.
Sounds more complicated than building
much more complicated. And so let's make a compliant device. So what about using fuzzy logic and neural networks to make a self-adjusting machine, to make an intelligent machine that behave like a man or a woman, because most of the people that put hands on me are women. And then, so I started, and the problem is that the shoe is not like a frame of a car, in which you have a frame, you have to weld the frame, is there. You have all the grading of the shoe that is not scale up, is an homologic growth of a shoe from a child to a big guy that doesn't scale up. There is a script behind how a shape of a shoe grow, and you have the left and the right. So whenever the robotic approach would be, you have to be extremely flexible in approaching the piece and scaling the process. So this was my first work, and so I prepared the ground for this invention. Being a manufacturer of a robotic machine, I send here in the US very strange items in Rock Island, Illinois, in Miami, Florida, in Cincinnati, and I don't remember where we sent stuff, in Bangor, close to companies like New Balance, Dexter, Nike, Reebok, what else, just to mention the most prominent, US shoe. This was to be my business environment. Going into shoe industry, see the problem, make an offer, get the money, design the machine, manufacture the machine, wire the machine, make a box, forklift, shipping, sending, flying there, shaking hands to the CEO, then interfacing with the forklifter, and then interacting with the workmen, and then enslave my machine to other machines, so interconnecting, interfacing, and blah blah blah, and finally reach the 95% of efficiency of the machine, and if the client is happy, get the payment, the balance in the instant. So close the loop of the sale, having satisfied the customer with a customized machine that is absolutely not easy to achieve. And that's it. In the Netherlands, we have a plot of land. We have a contractor. We have a client. We have an idea of a project to print a house, a concept house in the Netherlands. And but this is not the dream, honestly. This is already in the pipeline. This is not the dream anymore. It's an implementation of the dream, so print houses. What I'm really keen to promote is putting hands on the harsh arid lands, to shape lands, to make infrastructure, to shape lands, and start to convert the harsh land in a better. I'm not talking about desert greening because it is a huge word, but I'm very close to do small pilot experiments in which we build the environment. I come from Tuscany, and Tuscany used to be 200 years ago not the land that is we know today. Most of Tuscany used to be an harsh land with ponds full of mosquitoes and disease, and because of a king that became the king of Tuscany, Lorena dynasty from Austria, said, okay, what to do out of this land? It's my land. This is what I'm trying to teach to the king in the Middle East. Once you have built your skyscraper, what to do out of that in 100 years? Look at how you're around your land. Think about the potential to put hands on. So this is the full picture. So this is the dream. And I'm now, the same way I started the golden rush to the moon, building a piece of new house. Now I'm trying to intrigue the government to spike the golden rush to transform the desert into the big building site of on Earth, with a right proper business model to start to reverse the disaster we did over the past 100 years. This is the challenge, the next dream, and I won't live enough to see that, but I'm here to say what I have in mind to do out of the shape. So that is a reshape of the world, rearrange the world as forward street.
Yes,
huh?
That's right, forward street.
Okay. Forward
Are you going to
street.
sing for us? Are you going to sing for us?
We can change the world, rearrange the world. It's time, if you believe in justice, time. This is believe in freedom. So very, very US, very American dream, you know?
Yes. Thank you so much
My
for talking
pleasure.
to us.
A production of EVD Media.